What's going on, guys? TKD123 back video, and today I want to talk about a little game here, like just a little game that dropped last week that nobody's talking about at all. Definitely not getting insane review scores or getting played by a lot of YouTubers, or not getting a lot of publicity. No way. What I'm saying? This game, just kind of small game. It's called Horizon Zero Dawn, and we're gonna talk about my overall impressions and my thoughts on the game as of now. Now, just gonna give you guys a scope, of how much I have played this game, right? So for the past, I want to say, ever since the game dropped, really, ever since the game came out, pretty much consistently every single night I have put in around 2 to 4 hours of gameplay, in this game. I have sunk in so much time in this game, and I've having, so much fun with this title, and I'm having a lot of fun with it in ways that I never even thought I would actually have fun with this title. I am just, completely, engulfed, if you will, in this game, but for sure. And one thing I want to really hone in on and really, kind of just give a little, of attention to right now is that this game was developed by Guerrilla Games. Now, Guerrilla Games, they've been around since 2000. And really speaking, the only 3 games that they have really had that have really been a big deal, per se, is Riggs, Killzone, of course, and then this game as well. So they have never really dabbled in to the open world RPG, area of things in gaming, as opposed to Horizon Zero Dawn. And with that, being known, you will kind of, I guess, assume that, oh, maybe this won't be good because they won't be good at open world games because, hence they never really made one before, and all they've really made is FPSs with the Killzone series and this VR game that is also FPS, but, a little bit different here because it's VR. Obviously, it's for the PlayStation VR, so it was basically kind of like the shooter Riggs was, and basically the shooter of the launch of PSVR and stuff like that. So definitely, they really do skew more towards shooters. And then we get this trailer for Horizon Zero Dawn around 2 years ago, and everyone is so like, wait, Guerrilla Games is making this? Like a studio that has never made the open world, we would expect this type of game from maybe like Ubisoft or, somebody that has, been, engulfed and really, done open world before. But to get it from Guerrilla Games is just a thing of its own, and they really did set the bar extremely high for themselves here on Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, just to start off with Horizon Zero Dawn, right, my pretty much the first thing I noticed about this game was its aesthetics, man. Like, it is such a beautiful and gorgeous game here, and a lot of people will say, hey, you know what, this game doesn't look as good as Uncharted, right? And there was someone that pointed that out to me, right? And it's like, okay, you can say that, but when you take into account that Uncharted 4 is a linear game, it is a linear mission to mission, they just render what you are going to be playing in, and that's it, right? If you have that versus a open world massive RPG game like Horizon Zero Dawn, where the world is completely massive, right? Like, it is huge. You take that into account and you really see the comparison here. Like, what they did with this open world game is completely something to be commended for. Like, straight up, at times it looks just as good as Uncharted 4 on the PS4 base. Like, I have the base PS4, I own the PS4 Pro, so I can't speak to its graphics on the PS4 Pro. I've seen some comparisons, and I'm pretty sure it runs at 4K on the PS4 Pro. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it upscales up to 4K. I'm pretty sure that is the truth. But with that being said, obviously PS4 Pro version is gonna look great. It's gonna look insanely good. So obviously on the Pro, that is no difference there as well. But just the fact that it looks just as good, if not at times really better than Uncharted 4 on an open world scale. Well, they have to render all these things in the world. They have to render all of these different machines that are in the world, all these different animations, all these different people in the world, all of the mountains and the lighting and stuff like that, and the snow and the water and everything you can think of that has to be rendered out in this game. To take that into account, that's an open world that render all these things, and the fact that it looks just as good as a linear base PS4 game, Uncharted 4, like, that is something to not mess around with. That's something definitely to be commended for to Guerrilla Games, because this game looks absolutely perfect and amazing, dude. And obviously, with a open world game, you get the animations that look kind of wonky, and not just because they have so many NPCs around the game. Obviously, they have to, take a little step back when it comes in terms of, creating unique animations for every person. So sometimes animations look really weird. What I'm saying? Like, there are times where you'll be in a conversation with somebody and his mouth will be open, randomly, randomly open, for no reason, right? So that happens a ton of times. But if you can, just look past that, accept that it's an open world game. That's gonna happen a lot in these types of games. You'll be fine. Another thing I find really cool about this game is the story. Now, this story, right, has been touted a lot, through the trailers and the marketing of this whole game, right? Like, we got a lot of things of things revolving around the story about what happens to the world, what happens to civilization, and me, I don't know yet. I am still trying to go through the story. I want to say maybe I'm at maybe at the 40% range. I don't think I'm halfway through the game yet. I doubt it, but I want to say maybe I'm like 40% through it. Like, I'm almost at the halfway point. Not really sure, to be exact, but I'm getting there, right? Like, I'm getting a lot of story content, as of right now, and the story, as of right now, is absolutely so cool, man. And really, it's not even that, like, you only get the story from the story missions, right? Like, you get a lot of the story just from talking to people. It's like, just from going on conversations with other people. You can go down the rabbit hole of all the things they have to say about certain topics revolving around the game. You can get so much more if you want more of it, right? But if you want just to go through the story mission, I'm sure you'll get the gist of the entire story. But if you stick around with those characters that talk to you and you go down their conversation lines, you can get a lot out of the world and get a lot more out of the story overall. And to be honest, to be fair, there definitely are times where when you're with a person and you're trying to talk to them, right, and there are just so many things that they have to say about it, and it just gets kind of it gets a little bit tiring, right, to have just be on the same screen just learning about a story that way. I would rather learn it in like a different way, and that is not all the story, but that is more of the detailed stuff. So if you want more of the detailed stuff, you're gonna have to go to people and talk to them throughout the game. But if you just don't want the details, you can just skip right over them and just go straight into the main story and get the gist of what was said or what would have been told to you otherwise. There are also other ways, that the game gives you story content that is very much, not really something that I've ever seen before in the game, right? For example, I was, walking through a field, right, and there was these other machines that I've never seen before, okay? And then Aloy, the main character in the game, the person that we see all over the boxes, stuff like that in the marketing, Aloy, whispers to herself, oh man, I wish there was a way, to override these machines. Like, how do I do that? And basically, overriding, that's in the trailer, but overriding is when you can take control of a machine and you can ride it or utilize it in a bunch of different ways to your advantage, basically. And so she goes, and she basically kind of low-key hints at the player, and low-key tells him that, hey, there's a way to override these machines. You just gotta learn it. You know what I'm saying? So that is a different, cool way to introduce kind of a way that you can expand the game by you figuring out how to it's just like little things like that where I guess just the game tells you something rather than it being like on like a text box or a part of a mission. Like, it tells you certain things that you can do to further on the progression, stuff like that, in little ways that you wouldn't really find that much in other games right now currently. Also, I feel like there are plenty of things to do in this game. Like, there are plenty of things to upgrade, when it comes in terms of your actual skill tree, where you can get new abilities that way, just like we see in a bunch of other open world games. But even when it comes to terms of like opening more space in your backpack, or opening your space in the modules for your bow, like, there are just so many other things that you can do in this game that require a lot of interesting things. Like, it might have you gather rabbit skin, or it might gather bony meat, or regular meat, stuff like that, rabbit bones, stuff like that. Like, there are so many other things that you have to do to really upgrade your character, and and really does enhance the game, because it makes you do something that's not really out of the ordinary. Because like, usually we get the typical, get so and so many skill points and you'll be able to upgrade your bow and arrow, or upgrade your space in your backpack or whatever. But in this game, it kind of makes you go out and get materials, and then go back and then craft them, and then it's just a little bit more deeper than usual. And then kind of the last thing here I want to touch on is what you're watching here on screen. Now, what you're watching here on screen is gameplay of me having, I legit think, maybe my 5th time trying to defeat this this big machine, right? And this machine is called the Deathbringer, right? Now, this is the most latest machine I've come across here, because I've gone through a few hours about this game, and this is just the straight up latest one that I've done, right? I literally got this gameplay, I defeated this Deathbringer, and then went on here to record this impressions, right? So this is basically me talking out of memory, right? And just defeating this Deathbringer is one of the most satisfying things in this game, and you will come across a lot of things, right? Because actually here, you know, the thing that really that has me enticed about this game is that these machines here that you're facing, they are actually a threat. Like, they are actually a threat. Like, they will actually kill you, like, for real. Like, they will actually, you know, two-hit kill you if they want to. And this is all normal, guys. Like, I'm not even playing on hard, I'm not playing on whatever, but, you know, you see me here constantly in the gameplay rolling because that is literally the technique that I was basically, you know, down to use here. It was to keep bobbing and weaving. You have to scan using your focus, you know, that you get earlier in the game. You gotta find some weak points, and once you get weak points, then you can figure out what type of bow you're gonna use, whether it's gonna be fire, electricity, or whatever other, you know, bow that's gonna be the best use. But also using the focus also lets you look at, you know, the different weak points on the entire machine, and then that's where you want to focus your fire on these machines. And it's just so deep. Like, it's just such a cool game, man. I'm loving this game right now. I'm loving Horizon. I cannot even tell you guys enough how much I'm enjoying Horizon right now. And, you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, hey, yo, TKD, why don't you ever, like, review games? Like, you know, review albums every week. That's cool and everything. You love music, but, you know, you clearly love gaming, right? You clearly love games. So why don't you ever review a game, right? And my thing is that, look here, I don't feel like I can ever be qualified to really, you know, give a thorough review of a game at this point, just because of the limited, you know, amount of time I have to play games, everything, and the fact that, you know, I just feel kind of iffy and weird about reviewing games, because games, you know, right now can be just so big and so aggrandized, right? And it's just that, you know, it's just hard to really, you know, boil it down to more of a subjective, you know, opinion that kind of makes sense, right? I feel, at least in my opinion, right? Like, I feel like in terms of an album, right, I guess, you know, there is a lot of, you know, that essence of, like, opinion and subjectivity, but, you know, to a degree, there is an objective, you know, things that you can review an album on, right? Whether it be the quality of the sound, the instrumentals, the flow, you know, like, there is pretty much, you know, a nice way that you could objectify an album. So as in terms of a game, it gets a little bit more different here, because the games are much more bigger. It takes a lot more time for it to really give you, I guess, a full scope of an opinion on the game overall, right? So I feel like I will never, you know, I guess maybe in the future, maybe I might review games in the future, but, you know, right now I just kind of giving my impressions on the game. And currently right now, Horizon Zero Dawn gets my stamp of approval. I definitely do feel like you should definitely go buy this if you have a PS4. It is definitely one of the best exclusives. If not, I've heard from a lot of people the best exclusive right now on PS4. Now, I don't know if I'll go as far as saying that, just because we have pretty good games on PS4. But you know, I will say it's definitely in that upper echelon of exclusives on the console. And this is definitely a must buy. And on that note, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and a favorite if you guys enjoyed the content. Make sure down below to leave your impressions and thoughts on Horizon if you have it. If not, let me know if you're going to get it, whatever, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.